Hello and welcome back to the Pulse with Willie and Al. How's it going today, Al?
Hey Willie, living the dream, man. We're doing all right. Doing all right.
Awesome, man. Yeah, things are going well here. It's getting a little cold out, but we're dealing with that. So, and it just means when it gets
Yeah,
cold out, it's time for Saturday football in the NFL. So, I know that's
yeah,
coming up soon here
yeah.
too.
We also this week with the schedule, we have a Black Friday game as well. So
I noticed that. Is that did
yeah,
they have one of those last year? I can't remember.
no,
Okay.
no. I think it's Jets Dolphins,
Yeah.
which
Yep.
will be entertaining for Dolphins fans. So
It's gonna be kind of nice. I think I'm gonna stay up Friday and watch that game because it starts at 11 here. So
yeah, I was gonna say
definitely,
3 p.m.
y-
3 p.m. start time here. Yep.
yeah, it's gonna be great. Well, dude, this is our 26th episode, and this is our "Give Me a Thick Six" episode. So, uh,
Thick boys.
yeah, thick boy. So happy Thicksgiving, everybody. And the
Yeah.
reason we are giving it the Give Me a Thick Six show is Jeffrey Simmons, the defensive tackle from the Tennessee Titans. He was able to get flex his big boy muscles and be able to muscle in the end zone this weekend. So he looked flawless doing so, and I loved it. So I said, listen, we got to name an episode after this guy.
Look, as somebody that played defensive tackle in high school, anytime you see one of the big boys get a touchdown like that, yeah, I just get so it makes my heart so happy. It
Yeah.
really does.
Yeah, it always feels
Man.
good. It's not just
Yeah.
the tall, skinny guys that are able to do it. So, um,
Nah.
well, we got a lot to go over today with some NFL stuff, some MLB free agency as well. But listen, guys, before we dive into all that, just want to remind you guys, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. Make sure you like the video, drop us a comment, let us know what you think. And we'll cruise in. The best Sunday storyline that I think we have was actually a Tuesday storyline, or late Monday, but Tuesday for me storyline. The Steelers fire Matt Canada. I mean Matt
Thank God.
USA. And things are going
Yeah.
so well with him on the sideline. I just don't get it. So, but
Jesus.
then you see Najee Harris after the game. He's getting interviewed, and they're asking him, "Oh, is everyone on the team bought into like what's going on?" And he went to answer the question and was like, "You know what? Can I just answer questions about myself and my own
Yeah.
productivity and the way I feel?" So it's almost as if he forecasted what was going to happen, but obviously they're frustrated with the offense and not being able to produce at the level they want to be able to. I thought Najee Harris was going to have a crazy good year, and I feel like he should have with that offense, especially with Broderick Jones coming in at tackle. They've made some vast improvements in terms of that offensive line, but you just haven't
Yeah.
seen it in terms of offensive production. So I feel like this was a move that
Well,
had to happen.
well, I think too. At least with Sunday, like the story was Jalen Warren, who ran for 129 yards for them. Like,
Yeah.
and that's the thing that's confusing with their offense. They ran for 172 yards and they lost. And yeah, and I'm going to say a thing too. I think you're going to see that. Like, I think Matt Canada or Matt USA will like. I think he has some of this blame, but like also Kenny Pickett's not a good quarterback. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah.
I think so. Like he's just not good.
He's not.
He's not.
You know,
As somebody that watches Mac Jones every week, I know what a bad quarterback looks like,
yeah.
and that's a bad quarterback.
Yeah. You know what I was gonna say was I was sitting here and trying to think of how I knew the name Matt Canada, and I realized one of the guys that was in my fraternity in college was called Matt Canada. So
That's incredible.
yeah, it's real funny that like this ends up coming about. But you're right. Like I think we should see a breath of fresh air coming in on this team in terms of offense. Hopefully it turns things around, but I'm not holding my breath on it. I just, for the guys that are there for their sake, I'm hoping things turn around because they have a legitimate shot to make the playoffs if they keep moving in the direction they are and the offense gets better. Their defense is already playing well. They just need some juice on
Yeah.
offense.
Yeah, as of right now, they're the current 7 seed in the AFC. So like they are. If the playoffs were to start today, they would be in the playoffs. So
Yeah. Now, listen, there was a lot of high spread games that were turned into beatdowns on Sunday. You look at Jacksonville, the way they were able to crush Dallas and also Buffalo. I was just going to ask, which one were you the most surprised by with seeing that?
honestly, it was nice seeing Sanford. Honestly, I'm not gonna. As much as like these were nice, it was nice to see San Francisco kind of get back on track.
Okay.
Like
Yep.
they to me like to be honest, with you, all three of these teams should have won and should have won kind of handily,
Yeah.
respectfully. But having San Francisco, like they look back as well, which is kind of nice. Like, but between these three teams that you listed, I think it was really important for Dallas, because they have to keep winning if they want to try to catch the Eagles.
Yeah.
Because as it stands right now with Dallas, like they they're going to be on the road for a play. They're not going to get to host a playoff game,
Yeah.
which
It's going to be very difficult. And
yeah,
Tony Pollard got back on track. That was really nice to see. And I think you need him with confidence going into the later part of the season. You look at the way it's the first touchdown he scored since week one, which is
yeah,
insane. Like they were all talking about this guy. I know he was a top fantasy pick this year, but they were saying, okay, he's ready to take over the reins from Zeke Elliott. No worries about that. And he really underperformed. And I think it's a combination of factors. It's not just him, but he's let it seems like he's let a few people down in that sense, but I was glad to see him get back on track. For me, though, personally, I think it's Buffalo. I think Buffalo needed a win big time. They've been
yeah.
playing terrible the last few weeks. They've they've really been getting their teeth kicked in bad ways. Like that loss to Denver was just really really sad. And for them to be able to come back against a decent Jets defense, right? Like I say decent, but they're a good Jets defense. They just don't have a good offense. But for them to come out and basically control that whole game looked really, really good for them. So really
I
happy for
think
them.
what still worries me with the Bills is offensively, like they settle for way too many field goals for an offense that they should be a good offense, and they settle for way and they do these dumb things. Like I saw a play. What was it? I think it was like it was early in the game, and I think it was like third down and like third and like five, and Allen goes back to pass, and then like takes a huge sack,
Yeah.
and then like they have to settle for a field goal, and like you just can't like I, I agree it's against the Jets, and I think that they're a decent defense, but like I still am worried about Buffalo from an offensive standpoint.
Hmm.
I don't know, man. Like
Think about
I still think this offense is smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, think about back when, like, obviously you're a Pats fan, so you knew who he was. But the reason we knew the Pats kicker was because Vinatieri was making game-winning field goals. That's where he kind of got his
Yeah,
notoriety from. The fact that I
and
know
then
Tyler,
Gostkowski after him. Yep.
yeah, Goskowski was another equally good kicker. I mean, didn't have all the accolades that Vinatieri did, but quite a few of them. But
Yeah.
I know Tyler Bass's name. And it's not just because of fantasy football. It's because he's on the field so often for the Bills that you'd almost mistake him as an offensive player on that team.
Yeah.
Like you're
Yeah.
right. The amount of times that they settle for field goals when this offense, we've seen this offense be more than capable of scoring touchdowns. It just it leaves a very unsettling feeling. So let's move on though. Talk about a team that is not having any unsettling feelings is the Lions with their huge comeback with Jared Goff. Now, I know you always haven't been the biggest Jared Goff fan, but watching what he did within 4 minutes, that was very impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. It really was. I'm gonna kind of be a Debbie Downer for a minute though, because like it shouldn't have gotten to this point.
Yep.
Like the Bears, like a win's a win. I get it, and it was a great comeback win. Shows a lot of heart, and it's a big like momentum thing for them.
Hmm.
But like, you shouldn't be down 2 scores to the Bears with 4 minutes left. Like that
Yeah.
that shouldn't happen. Like you can get away with that with teams against the Bears, but like
One
if
out
you're
of
gonna
10
fuck around and
times.
do Yeah, and if you're gonna fuck around and do that with teams that are playoff teams, like that doesn't work the same way.
Yeah,
So like,
I don't
yeah,
see
I
Minnesota.
didn't love that.
Yeah, I don't see Minnesota or Philly or San Francisco letting them back in that game. I just don't see it.
No,
They have. I'm gonna say a thing. Look at me using your line now. I think it comes down to coaching, and you don't see good coaches get out coached in the last 4 minutes. Players can get
no,
outplayed, but you don't see coaches getting out coached in the last, like good coaches getting out coached in the last 4 minutes. So,
yeah,
happy for the Lions. Think they have some work to do, but I also was very happy for David Montgomery because he did it against his former team. And
yeah,
that really means something, especially in terms of his confidence. He's been injured this year. For him to be able to come back, be playing the way he is, and then have that type of win against that team, that's a statement game. And hopefully it's something they can ride that momentum the rest of the season on. So, um, but let's dive in because you had mentioned it before about some of the playoff teams as we were looking. Like the AFC landscape can change with injuries like
yeah,
overnight, and I think it's one thing that I heard, and we're rewatching a show, my wife and I, and one of the quotes that I heard in the show was, loss is a sobering phenomenon. And it's so true when you think about it, because losing a guy like Joe Burrow, Deshaun Watson, Mark Andrews, that those have lasting impacts on a team. It's not just, oh,
yeah,
okay, that we can fill in that guy and we'll be fine, next man up. I understand that mentality. But when you lose someone of that status, it's very, very difficult to have someone step in and just take over the reins and be okay from there. So I think, especially with the AFC North kind of getting turned upside down, I definitely think that you're going to see this AFC playoff picture get turned upside down as well. I mean, looking at it now, you've got the Ravens, Chiefs, Jags, and Dolphins. They're going to be the division winners. But those three wild card spots, I feel like, are up in the air. Now, I honestly think right now it would be Cleveland, Houston, and Pittsburgh getting in, but I think Houston is the best team out of those three. Now, I know Cleveland's got the defense, I know they've got the running game, but Houston is the team that scares me the most out of those three.
yeah, yeah. Excuse me, I agree. With Houston, I will say this: CJ Stroud has looked a little more human lately. He has
Mm-hmm.
looked a little more like a rookie, but Houston is always in it at the end of games. And what I saw them do against Arizona Sunday was that was a really impressive game because that game could have gone kind of sideways for them, and they righted that ship. And that was a really that's a that's a building blocks win for an
Mm-hmm.
organization like that. Like that's a game where they could have rolled over easily
Mm-hmm.
and just like kind of gotten the shit kicked out of them by Arizona. But like they hung around, they made enough plays, and like defense stepped up at the end, and that's a big win for them. So out of those three, I agree. That being said, though, I with Cleveland and their defense is so good that they don't need a lot from their offense.
No, they
They
don't.
don't.
It's
Like they need somebody to do just enough for a quarterback and like don't throw any back-breaking interceptions.
they were
That's it.
very close to getting a safety on Sunday.
Yeah.
It didn't get called a safety, but it looked like it was. And Miles Garrett was confident that it was too. I mean, he's awesome to watch. But you're right. Like that team's got just an incredible defense to be able to run it back with. So, and I don't think anyone wants to play against them. I don't think the Chiefs want to play against them. I don't think the Ravens want to play against them. I don't think anybody does. So that's something they definitely have working towards their advantage. One thing I was going to float out there is, and I know we had just talked about the Texans, but there's no guarantee that they're going to be a wild card team. And what I mean by that
No.
is there's no guarantee that they don't win the division. I could easily see them passing Jacksonville in this, and I know Jacksonville played better this past weekend, but they can be had by Houston, and we're going to find out again this week. We'll talk about it in a little bit, but they've got a chance to get had again. And if they do, this time, not only is Houston going to be the leader in the division, but they'll own the tiebreaker against them too. And that's
Yeah,
because they will have
absolutely.
beaten them twice. And this is a huge game with huge implications on Sunday.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention real quick because you had brought it up before the show that if we started today, Baltimore's the top seed. They're the number one seed.
Which is wild to me because they're just as banged up as everybody else in the AFC North.
Hmm.
Like honestly, like Pittsburgh's the healthiest team out of those four teams in that division, but their offense is so bad that I don't think it's going to matter.
They're the
But yeah,
healthiest, but the worst. It's
they're just like they're just kind of like the team that people kind of like. I honestly I forget about them a lot of weeks
hmm.
until I look at the standings at the end of Sunday and be like, or like today when I looked at the playoff standings, I was like, oh, they'd be the one seed. Like,
Yeah,
the fuck did that happen?
yeah.
Like,
I
but
mean, we
yeah,
saw them beat
here
the
we are.
Lions. We saw them beat the Seahawks, but I don't know. I still just don't trust them. And losing Mark Andrews is not like losing that's like the Chiefs losing Travis Kelsey. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think the Ravens have more weapons at receiver than the Chiefs do, but that's basically the same thing for them. Their offense runs through Mark Andrews. Like he's a key cog in that wheel. To take him out, I know Isaiah Likely is a formidable backup. I get that. He's not Mark Andrews. He's just not.
right.
So I don't know. And speaking of the Chiefs, I know we talked a little bit about the game and stuff, but man, really tough to see Kelsey fumble inside the red zone there, right near the goal line. Like that's just brutal. And I know you have a theory as to why that may have happened, right?
Well, Taylor Swift was not at the game last night,
Which is
so there was that.
that is
But like
BS. Huh?
baloney,
Yeah.
just baloney. But like I told you this before we started recording. Like I hadn't looked forward to a Monday night game like this in a long time, and it was a really sloppy game.
Hmm.
It honestly like the Chiefs should have won that game. Valdez Scantling drops that touchdown in the end zone. Like he just like you can't drop those passes.
Yeah.
And that was the difference maker. And Jalen Hurts, what was weird too is that Philly didn't play great the first half, but their defense kind of kept a minute. Like they were down 17-7 at half, and you're like, the score doesn't really reflect how this game was played because like Philly like kept getting stops on Mahomes,
Hmm.
and like kept just like making him uncomfortable. He could never like and like they did this thing too where like you know how like Mahomes will typically just like scramble and dance, like they kept him pretty well contained, which meant like he had to start like eating some hits in the pocket, and like that really kind of reared its head in the third and fourth quarters.
Yeah.
And that was like and it was funny because like it was the first time that I know that like Kansas City has looked kind of pedestrian most of this year, but like last night was the first time for me that there was a roadmap in my brain that was like, oh, so this is how you beat Kansas City.
Hmm.
You just hit them, which makes sense because if you remember that Super Bowl they lost to Tampa, T- Tampa's defense just hit the shit out of Mahomes all game.
Yeah.
They just kept hitting him over and over and over and over again.
Made it
Like,
real difficult for him.
yeah, and that's what you got to do with him. Like you got to play contain. You can't let him get outside the pocket, and you have to hit him. You do because he'll get a little squirrely after a while. And you saw it last night. Like, and then the other side of that with the Eagles, like Jalen Hurts with his legs, man. Like he didn't really have much going on in the way of like throwing it, but that's why he's so good because he can take off with his legs and scored two touchdowns last night with his legs in the
Yeah.
second half.
I think for me, like the takeaways, just Mahomes. It was kind of uh, non-traditional, I guess you could say, with him throwing picks in the red zone. You just don't expect that. It's
Yeah.
he usually is much better when it comes to making decisions there. You probably didn't catch it on Sunday, but I had a nice little go at Gabe Davis in terms of him dropping balls in the end zone, and so I uh, I I definitely laid into him a bit on it. But same thing, Marcus Valdez Scantling, like bro, you get paid for one thing, and you get paid
Sure
very
do.
good money for that one thing. Like that's to
Yeah.
catch three deep balls a game, and that's it. You don't need to do
Yeah.
anything else. So when you're dropping those, you're not helping your team win. And it just I don't know. The Kelsey fumble, the Mahomes red zone picks, the almost I don't know if you saw it, but the almost turnover to Baby Rhino when he went to spike the ball and he dove through the center and almost caught it. That's
Yeah,
insane. That is
yeah,
insane football IQ. I look
yeah.
at that and that just says to me like, okay, this guy's not giving up on any plays. It just I don't know. Kansas City didn't score in the second half. That's why they didn't win the game. If they could have put any
And their
points on the board, they would have been okay.
yeah, and their defense too. I know we talked about it when we previewed this game last week, but like Chris Jones played out of his mind
Yeah.
and like did everything that he could have possibly done to like keep them in this game, and like it just wasn't enough.
Well, and
Because that's the thing with the Eagles' offensive line was also very suspect last night.
mhm.
They like Hurts got sacked 5 times.
Yeah.
That doesn't typically happen.
No, also think about this. They held and talk about all the cards kind of rolling Kansas City's way. Yeah, on offense it didn't, but on defense it did. They did everything that they needed to in terms of
Yep.
being able to try to win that game, to game plan to win that game. Jalen Hurts is going to beat you one way or the other. I get that piece. They kept AJ Brown to what, one catch for eight
Yeah.
yards?
One catch for 8 yards.
Yeah,
Yep.
you're never going to have another game where AJ Brown catches one ball for 8 yards. You're not going to. This was your best chance to beat Philly this way, and you didn't do it. So I don't know if
Yeah.
these teams meet again, unless there's some kind of dramatic overhaul in terms of offense. But listen, at this point in the season, we know who Kansas City is.
And you know who Philadelphia is. Like
Yeah.
you know who these teams are, and
Hmm.
like there's definitely a roadmap that was shown by both teams on how to beat the other
Right.
last night.
Yep.
Because I think that line, like we talk about Philly's line and how good it is, but like they are getting a little older, and like that does mean something when you've been playing offensive line for a long time. Like that age, like when you get to like 32, 33, 34, like
You're
you
getting up
don't just
there.
you're not as fast as you used to be.
Well,
And
they're aging on that line with Kelsey. You got Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata. He's younger and stuff, and I know he's
yeah,
very agile on the other side there. But I mean, it's tough, and it shows too. Losing Samulo to Pittsburgh hurt them at guard.
sure
He
did.
was he was
Yeah,
a big, and I probably butchered his
yeah.
name by saying that, but he was a very big piece of that wheel that they had, and losing him definitely caused them to take a step back. Now I know they've plug and played. I get that piece, but uh, I think the one thing you could take out of last night's game is they are definitely the class of the NFC. Uh,
This it definitely felt like they are gearing towards a rematch in February.
mm-hmm.
Like this just looked like kind of a battle within a war, like a small battle, and the war still hasn't been decided.
Yeah,
Like this seems like there's still, even after this game, felt like a lot of unfinished business. And like also Kansas City ran the ball well too last night. That's not talked about too. They ran for 168 yards, which I think has to be commended because Kansas City hasn't been able to do shit with running the ball this year.
yeah. Isaiah
Like
Pacheco's not really that guy that you give the rock to, and you're like, okay, go and get us that 6 yards on that.
he
He's not.
was last night. That's the thing. Like
Yeah,
he ran for almost 100. So like
but look, how many carries did he have?
19. So he has 4.7 yards a carry. So
Yeah, okay. All right.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's definitely better than he has been in some of the games this year, but
But can he be consistent? That's the thing.
well, that's the big thing too. Like a guy like that, if you start giving him 20 carries a game, he is going to wear down by the time the playoffs get here. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
I expect you're going to see more McKinnon going forward here. I think you have to. But in terms of, I was going to mention like the NFC playoff preview. You're looking at, Philly up top. You got Detroit, San Fran, and then the Saints. But the NFC South could
It's
be a
a
crapshoot.
murderer's row.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, the NFC, the top of the NFC is a murderer's row. Like if you get out of the NFC, like kudos to you.
Which is
Like you
so
have somehow
weird.
survived.
We were talking about that at the beginning of the AFC being murderers row. All of a sudden, a few injuries
Yeah,
here, few injuries there. Rodgers isn't there. Burrow's not there. Deshaun Watson's not in Cleveland right now. Like it's
yeah.
amazing how fast that changed. The Chargers are terrible, and now they're talking about Belichick getting traded there. Like it just, all of this stuff kind of falls that way. You were right. Dallas is going to be one of the wild card teams. You got Seattle and the Vikings kind of wrapping it up. I just don't see. I know there's other 4 and 6 teams that are in the hunt. I don't see any of those teams taking the place of these guys in the wild card race.
I don't either. Like, and it's funny too because like ever since they've switched the playoff format where only the number one seed gets a bye. Like that bye is now more important than ever.
It really is.
And like, and in the NFC, like if you're one of the lower seeded teams and you're like, oh, maybe we have Super Bowl aspirations, you're going to have to go through some combination of two out of these three teams of either Philly, Detroit, and San Francisco, and you're going to have to do it on the road. And respectfully, good luck.
Yeah.
Like,
Good luck. It's
good
true.
luck.
Well, speaking of a team that definitely is this game that's coming up on Sunday is going to determine, which team is going to win the division and which team most likely will be playing a playoff game on the road. We've got Jacksonville at Houston, and I checked this morning; it was 1 point in favor of Jacksonville, and then the over/under on it's 48 and a half. And it's just interesting because as I look at this matchup in particular, these teams are in much different spots than when they first met. Both teams had very big wins last week. I know, but they're both against weaker opponents. And I think I don't want to speak for you, Al, but I was definitely surprised the first matchup when Houston came out and just pummeled them. They beat them by 20 points, but basically 3 touchdowns, 37-17 in week 3. And I know here we are in week 12 now, coming through almost 2.5 months later, and it looks like this Houston team is better than that Jacksonville team. Like they learned in that matchup, like, oh hey, we can be good. We may have some bumps. Don't forget this Houston team lost to Atlanta and Carolina within the last month, which is
Yeah,
crazy when you think about it, because they beat some very good teams in that time. Very good. So, I mean, Cincinnati with Joe Burrow, I mean, I definitely think that's a huge win for them. But I don't know. As I look at both of these teams, which one do you feel better about right now?
I saw. So to take, I don't want to take anything away from what Jacksonville did against Tennessee, but like Tennessee's just they're a mess right now, and like they're clearly in a rebuild. They're like clearly trying to rebuild. So like and I'm glad that they took care of business. But the one thing that I took away from that game that I think if this can be a little more consistent is the Trevor Lawrence Calvin Ridley connection. Because
Yes.
man, if that can get going, Jacksonville's a whole different team, dude.
Dude,
A
I can't.
whole different team.
So I've loved this guy ever since he played in Atlanta. He was humbled obviously with the suspension, but he comes off like he's a freak athlete. He's a very good receiver, has excellent hands, he's an excellent route runner, and all they were doing on this guy was having him run post after post after post. And I'm just like, guys,
Yeah,
I understand that works, but defenses are playing on to that. What you need to do is have him run crossing routes where he can get that separation. That's what made him so good in Atlanta with Matt Ryan was he'd catch him going across the middle where he's able to kind of stretch that defense a little bit and create separation from the defensive back on his side. And all of a sudden you're putting the ball across his body where he could be able to reach out and catch it in stride. It's man, they finally were able to draw up some patterns for him to be able to actually catch the ball and run with it. And that was the big difference in this game. I was so happy
yeah.
to see it.
Me too. I'm a big Calvin Ridley fan, just from his standpoint that he has always been really honest about the mental health struggles that he has gone through. And as somebody like disclaimer, as somebody that struggles a lot with mental health, I I'm always I always really appreciate when people who have a huge platform and a very wide audience, they use that platform to promote mental health awareness. And like he was very honest, being like, hey, it's not great right now. Like I'm in a bad spot. And like
Yeah.
so for me, like when I see players that do that, like I am always going to root for those guys no matter what. Like,
Yeah.
sure, the gambling thing not a good look, but like honestly, like I have my own takes on that anyway. Like, just it doesn't really matter. But like, yeah, it's just I'm just really glad that he's finally in a place where like he seems like he's doing better. He's in a
Mhm.
good football situation, and yeah, I'm really rooting for the guy too, man. So
Yeah. I definitely
yeah,
feel he's empowering when he gets up and he talks about that stuff because he shows that it's not
yeah,
something anyone should be ashamed of, which I think is
absolutely,
just a really important thing. And you're right, with someone that has a podium like that, and especially the platform that he's got, he should be able to use it that way. And
yeah,
yeah, kudos to him, man. Really love seeing guys like him do well. Uh,
yeah,
and I think Trevor Lawrence is happy that he's playing well too. Right? Like, I mean,
yeah,
Trevor Lawrence is reaping the benefits of that. I was looking at the stats between him and CJ Stroud, and it's kind of funny. Stroud has better stats than him this year. And it's
yeah.
it's not really close either.
Yeah, and Stroud's starting to come back down to earth too, and I think
Yeah.
defenses have started to figure him out a little bit. He's starting to make a few more rookie the Arizona game Sunday is a great example. There were a couple picks that he had where he didn't go through his reads, and he was just already he had his eyes locked on one guy, and
Yep.
like you can't do that in the NFL. Even if you're a fifth string DB, that DB is going to get that pick at 10 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to do that, um, but he's still the thing that I am impressed with CJ Stroud is that when the chips are down or things are hard, he has this ability to like really pull that through, and
Hmm.
we've seen that a few times this year already. So, and I think that's why I think this is going to be a close game, and I think you're going to see CJ Stroud come down and lead him to in the end. So
Yeah, you bring up a really good point with that, and the thing that I love about him is when the moments are big and something big happens, right? They throw like a crazy touchdown to be able to win the game, or to tie the game, or whatever it is. You look at him and he's not celebrating. He's just like his
yeah,
coach. He's just even keeled, calm, collected, all of it. And humble too. Yeah, he'll get excited, but he's very calm in those moments to make sure that until it's over, he's not celebrating. And I don't know. I,
yeah,
I think for him, doesn't matter how many years he plays in the league, he's still going to have that feeling that people passed on him and thought that
oh yeah,
he wasn't that good or couldn't get it done, or you know he's going to have that. Oh, so someone was taken ahead of me. I wasn't someone's first choice. And he's going to remember that, man. He's going to make a lot of people pay for that. But I look at it now. He's second in the league in passing yards. I mean, even with him making some of those rookie mistakes, he's still throwing for over 300 yards a game. He's without Damian Pierce, without Noah Brown. No problem, man. I'll make a playmaker out of somebody else. Tank Dell, who's too small to play in the NFL, he's made him into a great receiver this year. Nico Collins having a great year with him. I look at that. Oh, okay. Devin Singletary steps in. Oh, okay. Let's get him his first 100-yard game. I look at it and like he just is continuing to make guys better around him. Like I don't want to say it because he's just a rookie, but it's almost like the Jordan effect, right? Like he just elevates the play of those around him. And
yeah.
I don't know, man. Like one thing that I will say is, and it may be a little bit too early because I know the rest of the season's still to come. D'Amico Ryan's definitely has to be in consideration for Coach of the Year.
Oh, absolutely. It's either him or Dan Campbell, respectfully.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at what he's been able to do. People were picking them to win 3-4 games this year, and
Yeah,
I mean, his line isn't world class. He's playing around that.
yeah.
He's finding ways. He said, "Okay, well, my line's not the best. Okay, what do I got to do? How do I
And
beat that? You know?"
what is scary is they get Arizona's first round pick this year. And if Arizona is bad enough, this is the nightmare scenario for me that has kept me up a few nights, where they get a high enough draft pick and hear me out. They take Marvin Harrison Jr. with that pick.
Oh man.
We're dead. We're all
Yeah,
dead.
I
And
have
it's
I have dreams of
good
him
game.
going to the Colts. I don't think it's going to happen. I think he's too good. I don't think unless the
Yeah.
Colts can trade up for him. I mean, that would be kind of cool. But I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd love to see him with C.J. Stroud. That'd be
Yeah.
incredible. They already have the chemistry. Why not?
The
It's
Patriots won't do it. They're going to get a high pick, and it's going to be the same thing. I want them to take Marvin Harrison
nope. They're
because
gonna
he
trade
seems
down
like
and compile more picks. I'll tell you right now.
yeah. Well, yeah, because he seems like he's going to be a generational talent at wide receiver,
Yeah,
and we have a shot that the Patriots could take him, but they won't.
yeah.
They'll take a quarterback because
Let me just
they
give
need
you a
a
little sneak
quarterback.
preview. What's going to happen is they're going to trade away Belichick for a third round pick to the Chargers. They're going to re-sign Mac Jones for 4 years and 200 million.
I
I mean,
I will
Daniel Jones
throw
got
myself
40 million a year, so
I will throw myself out of my third story window, man. I'll do it.
oh man.
I'll do. God damn it! I
Yeah.
can't. No, dear God, no.
Oh man, yeah, I don't want to give you a heart attack yet. So, tell me, who do you got for this game, man?
I think it's Houston. I think it's Houston. I think they're going to do just enough. I think this is going to be a really close game. I think it's Houston 27, Jacksonville 24.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Jeez,
Yeah,
we are so close. I've got Houston at 31, Jacksonville at 24.
yeah.
So,
I think this is going to come down to CJ Stroud having to drive them down the field to end the game.
yeah. I hope
Yeah,
it does, man. I hope it does cuz I think that could be an awesome way to be able to see that game end. So, and he's
yeah.
proven he can do it. He doesn't seem scared in the big moment, and I love that about him. Like it really is a cool thing to watch. So, all right, man. Let's go ahead. We'll transition into Major League Baseball free agency. So some interesting stuff. Atlanta brings back Charlie Morton. They end up swapping picks with the White Sox for reliever Aaron Bummer, and then they trade away Soraka with that, which was kind of interesting. So I know he's been hurt almost the whole time he's been there. I'm pretty sure. But then they
Yeah.
also signed another mid reliever in Reynaldo Lopez. So I was just going to ask you because I don't know that much about those guys. I wanted to ask you, what is your impression on those? Like, do you think they're going to actually be have an impact on the Braves, or is it not really going to have that much of an impact on them?
Yeah, I think that this is strictly to they just want to bolster their bullpen because we've talked about this at nauseum with Atlanta last year. Their bullpen was their one suspect part of that team.
Which is so crazy because a few years ago their
Yeah,
bullpen was so good. Like I know some
yeah,
of the guys they don't have there anymore, but like it's just that used to be one of the strengths that they had on their team. So oh man, kills me and stuff. But then I also read Brewers acquired Jake Bowers from the Yankees. So I'm not sure. What are your thoughts on that in terms of that providing some depth for Milwaukee?
yeah. So he plays first base. He plays the outfield. So kind of a utility guy. Really, long story short, he's a left-handed hitter with some pop.
Okay.
I think he hit like I think off the top of my head, I think he hit like 12 or 13 homers this year. And like again, good guy with a little bit of pop.
Okay.
That's all you really need to know.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, the last
Yeah.
one I was going to ask you about before we get into a few of the big names here is I know the Phillies re-signed Nola, and honestly I would have liked to see him in a Braves uniform, but I think
Yeah.
you were saying before you thought he was a little bit underpaid.
Yeah, I thought so too. Yeah, I I need to preface this with that baseball contracts confuse me sometimes because I would have thought a guy of his caliber was going to get 200 million. I don't know why I thought that, but like I just assumed like he was going to get 200 million from somebody. So the fact that they paid like 170 and change for him for like I think it was like 7 years or something like something insane like that's a pretty good value for a guy that loves playing in Philadelphia
Yeah.
and Phillies fans absolutely love this guy. So like it just seemed like this was a no brainer for both of them.
hmm
Like Nola loves Philly, Philly loves Nola. The, the the Phillies have something really special going on with this team, and they're just going to keep adding to it and adding to it. And yeah, so
Especially with
I
guys
like
that
this
want to
one.
play there. That I mean, That's another big
Yeah.
thing. Like guys that buy into the fan base, into the program, right? Like that's a big reason why they had so much success this past year.
And like Phillies fans are nuts. I will be the first to tell you that. But
Yeah.
like the thing that you can't take away from them is that when they love somebody and are passionate about somebody, they will love you till the end of time. And like
Hmm.
you're already seeing it with Bryce Harper.
Yeah.
They love Bryce Harper so goddamn much.
Yeah.
And if Bryce Harper ever leads them to a title, that man will never have to buy a drink in the city of Philadelphia for the rest of his life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Their fans are so passionate about him. They've made me love him, and I'm a Braves fan.
yeah,
So like
yeah.
I mean it's really cool to be able to see that. But all right, let's dive into some of these big names. So Shohei Otani. So he is going to be in a Braves uniform with Yamamoto next year, and we're going to be seeing a
I
World
think
Series come to Atlanta, right? Hmm.
I think you mispronounced it. It's Red Sox. It's the
Okay.
Red
All
Sox
right.
uniform. Red
Okay.
Sox uniform.
All right.
Yeah. Shohei's gonna get a lot of money.
Where do you think it's
Shohei is
going?
going to,
If you had to put it all in today, where do
okay.
you think
We're
it's going?
gonna play a game of where I want him to go and where I let's be honest, where I think he's actually gonna go.
Okay.
I want him to DH for the Red Sox till the end
Okay.
of my till the end of goddamn time.
Yeah.
That's all I want. That's all I
Till
want.
he's
I
70
just
and
want him
can't
hitting
hit home runs
I
anymore.
I just want him to hit 50 dingers a year playing in Fenway. That's all
Yep.
I want.
Okay.
I'm not asking for a lot here. I'm not.
Yeah.
Uh, that being said, and I know that's not going to be the case. I think it's going to be either the Dodgers or the Giants.
Okay.
I think he's going to stay on the West Coast when it's all said and done.
Hmm.
I honestly like if you like gun to my head, I think he's going to sign with the Dodgers
Let me
because
ask you
then he
something.
doesn't have to. He's going to stay in LA.
Yeah.
It's yeah,
It's easy for him to be able to do that. He's already comfortable with the city. Now, let me ask you
yeah.
something. Do you think, because I know they said he's not pitching this next year, do you think he signs a 1 year deal?
No, no, no. He's going to get paid by somebody. If he hadn't gotten hurt, I think he was going to get $500 million from somebody.
Okay, but
Straight
wouldn't
up.
it make sense for him to sign a 1 year deal and then be healthy and then sign a new contract as a pitcher and a hitter again?
No, because well, so my counter argument to that is, what if he hurts his shoulder in spring training, like swinging at a pitch, and then nobody's going to pay him? Like,
Yeah.
he's got a capital. Like this is like him getting hurt and like blowing out his elbow. Sure, isn't great.
Well, it's fully
Uh,
guaranteed contracts too. So, okay, he may not get
yeah.
500, but he may get 400 and change. Uh-huh.
Well, Judge last year. I think he got 360. I think he's going to get upwards. I think he's going to get upwards at north of four.
Okay.
And I would bet maybe he probably will get like because Trout's I think like 430 something or like 420 something. I think when it's all said and done, I still think he gets like anywhere between 400 and 450 million dollars
Okay. Yeah, a
when it's
little
all
bit.
said and done. Yeah,
Little bit of change there.
yeah.
What do you think about Yamamoto? Where's he gonna end up?
Oh boy, this is the one that like nobody seems to know. And he's 25. Uh, and he essentially this past season won the Pacific League, which is the league in Japan. He won both MVP and Cy Young, their versions of that the same season.
Yeah.
The dude is just filthy. I catch myself every once in a while watching like grainy YouTube highlights of him, and
Hmm.
man, the pitches that he throws, and he doesn't walk anybody. I think his ERA this year was like 1.25, like over a whole season. Like dude is filthy. I think he's gonna get like $200 million from somebody. Um, and again, this is actually one where I think he would actually be a great fit in Boston.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't. When it's all said and done, like he seems like I think the three teams that are like the best fits for him, I think are either the Dodgers, because you just can't rule the Dodgers out with anybody. You
Yeah.
can't. Like they
Yeah.
just have the checkbook for it. Um, this weirdly feels like a Mets signing to me as well. I don't know why. This feels like a Mets signing where they give him like $200 million
Yeah.
and then he blows out his elbow in 3 starts.
Yeah.
This just feels like a Mets signing. And then I think he'd be a great fit on the Sox because the Sox need a rotation guy, top of the rotation guy.
Hmm.
And if they get him, he would easily be the best starter that we've had since, respectfully, since Pedro.
Okay.
Like,
You don't think he goes
he's
to the
just like, if,
Yankees at all? You don't think they dip in at all?
I think they're going to try, but I think honestly, like the Yankees kind of like they don't have a lot right now. It's just like Aaron Judge and a really old Giancarlo Stanton
Yeah. Okay.
and not much else. So I really think that I think when it's all said and done, I think he's probably also going to go to the Dodgers. But like,
Imagine Shohei and
yeah,
him on the Dodgers. That would be ridiculous. Like that.
yeah.
That could be
Well, so
crazy.
I was reading earlier. I think it was earlier like late last week or early this week. I was reading this. Uh, that the Dodgers were trying to figure like the Dodgers have the pieces where they could sign Shohei and trade for Mike Trout, and
Yeah.
I that's the equivalent of when Kevin Durant signed with the Warriors.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, cool. We know who's going to win the title for the next 6 years. Sick.
Could you imagine that? That would be crazy.
Yeah,
So, all right.
I used to think about a world where that doesn't happen, but it's in play.
Well, speak of a former Dodger, Cody Bellinger. What are you hearing about
Yeah,
him?
yeah. This was the like kind of you had said earlier what you think Otani should have done. Like he took a fly, like the Cubs took a flyer on him.
Hmm.
The dude was like he was really close to just being out of baseball. Like he won the so quick backstory with him. So he won the NL MVP in 2019,
Yeah.
and then like he just fell off a cliff real quick, and it was nobody seemed to know why, but like you knew he was a good hitter and he just like couldn't figure it out. So he goes to the Cubs for 1 year. They give him like I think it's like 17.5 million for one year. And then the dude just hits 307 with 26 homers and I think like 97 RBI. And he's gonna get paid by somebody. Like I think he's gonna get like when it's all said and done, I think he's gonna get like a Marcus Semien contract, which is like 180 to like $200 million over 6 years. Somebody's going to
Wow.
pay him.
Yeah.
Um, I could see him going back to the Cubs just because I think that was just a really good fit. Like that park is meant for him to hit home runs in. Um, he also weirdly would play really well in San Francisco.
Okay. Oh, wow.
I him like because San Francisco needs a bat.
Yeah.
And I him hitting him into the cove, like I think would really he could really easily do that as well.
Hmm.
Um, and also this seems like a Yankee signing. Like this seems like the guy they would go after, and then like respectfully, he starts hitting like Joey Gallo and like just falls off a cliff again, but only after the Yankees have paid him $200 million.
Yeah, yeah, because it's
But
guaranteed, so they've got to
yeah,
it's got to
but
get
I
its
think when
money
it's all said and
first.
done, I think either Cubs or Giants. I think he
Okay.
either resigns with the Cubs or I think he plays for the Giants.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Next name we have up is Blake Snell.
the guy who shouldn't have won the Cy Young Award this year.
Your
Yeah, that guy.
your favorite
Uh,
guy, biggest fan.
who he could not have timed this better if he wanted to.
Right.
This guy, I think, will get $200 million. Uh, and I keep hearing that San Diego's going to try to re-sign him, but like San Diego actually has real financial problems right now, and like the talk is that they're going to trade Juan Soto, which that in itself is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Because if I'm not mistaken, Juan Soto is a free agent after this year. So like if you're going to get something for him, like now's the time. This this really feels like I think like the best fit for him would actually be like a team like St. Louis. Like I think that's like pitching in a stadium like Busch Stadium, like I think that's really where I think he could excel. Um, but I think he's going to get paid over $200 million from somebody.
Hmm.
I do.
Okay.
So, because I mean, you're the reigning Cy Young winner and hitting free agency, and also you're a two-time Cy Young winner. Like
Do you think
that
your
doesn't happen often.
Do you think your Red Sox take a stab at him?
I would like to think they would, but like the problem with the Red Sox is like they've done this thing for a little while now where they're crying poor,
Hmm.
and I don't understand that because like they couldn't apparently afford to re-sign Xander Bogaerts. They couldn't afford to re-sign Mookie Betts, so they traded him.
Yeah, your
You know what I
favorite.
mean? So like I just don't know. I would like to think that they could afford to pay him, but like who the fuck knows? We do
Yeah.
have new leadership though. Heimblum's gone, so like anything's really possible now,
Okay.
especially with Craig Breslow in charge. Like I actually have some hope that he's gonna put a decent team out there next year.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an
So
eye on it and stuff. I know the last one we've got
yeah,
here is Josh Hader. What do you think?
yeah, the best
Yeah.
closer probably available in free agency this year.
Yeah.
Um, I think I think he's either going to go to Phillies or the Rangers because
Okay.
both teams need a closer.
Yeah.
And like, especially the Philly, well, especially you saw it with the Phillies and the Rangers. Like the Phillies, like Craig Kimbrell's pretty washed at this point. Like they didn't use him much in the NLCS after he blew those games and like really became a liability for them and a big reason why they lost that series. And then the Rangers, like same thing. Like that bullpen was pretty suspect, and they kind of were able to work around that. But
Hmm.
like, he would be perfect for a team like for like the Rangers or the Phillies.
All
So
right. I mean,
yeah, and I think he gets like 100 million from somebody, probably
oh
like 80 to
man,
100 million from somebody.
that's good money too.
Yeah,
Well, we'll
yeah,
definitely have to keep our ear to the ground on that, find out exactly, what's happening in the next couple weeks, because I know there's going to be a lot of action with this in the next few weeks. We want to make sure we keep you updated on it. Just moving on here, we've got our trivia question before we let you guys go. So last week, the question we had, we said that there was three teams that never had the first overall pick in the draft. We were just kind of talking about the
oh,
Bears.
that was 2 weeks ago.
Oh, was it? I thought
Oh wait,
this.
was that? Yeah, that was 2 weeks ago.
Are you
Because last week's
sh-
was the rookie of the year and MVP in the same season.
Ah, okay. All right.
Yeah,
And then last week we talked about what? Was it the two? We had talked about Acuna, right? Rookie of the year and
he's
MVP.
won now both. Yep, he's won now. He's now won both.
Mm-hmm.
But there were two guys that have won both in the same season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You want to drop the
And yeah,
hammer?
so first one, Fred Lynn in '75 for the Red
Mm-hmm.
Sox.
Yep.
That team went to the World Series that year, lost to the Reds, but the infamous Carlton Fisk home run. And then Ichiro Suzuki with Seattle in 2001 when they won 116 games that year.
Very, very
Yeah,
interesting. All right.
yeah,
Well, yeah, we're hoping. And again, if you want to go ahead and answer those, or you're trying to guess them and stuff, don't feel like you can't throw them down in the comments and stuff. We want to try to drum up some support for that. Find out exactly what people know and take a stab at it. See what you got. So
yeah.
we really appreciate that. Was there anything else you wanted to cover today, Al?
No, I think it was a good episode. Covered a lot of ground. Got to cover a lot of baseball, which makes my heart so happy. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I
yeah,
just wanted to say, happy Thanksgiving. I hope everyone has a safe week, is able to spend some time with family, uh, have some good food, some good football, maybe some free agent signings, maybe make someone real happy and thankful on Thursday.
yeah,
But
yeah,
again, man, we really appreciate it. And again, we hope you enjoyed the episode. Listen, we'll be back next Monday, Tuesday. We'll be dropping an episode. Tuesday.
yeah. I think yeah, Tuesday or Wednesday we'll hardly drop in an episode. Yeah, it
Yeah,
depends. Yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
Well,
And
yeah,
yeah, so we'll be back. We'll give you some Sunday, reactions of what we had, prep you guys for the next week, the game that we have coming up. And yeah, we really appreciate it. Again, if don't forget to smash that subscribe button, go ahead and like the video, drop us a comment. If you do want to reach us or get in touch with us, you can email us at thepulsewa@gmail.com. Again, you could find me on Twitter at Willie Creeman FF or on Twitch on Sundays, an hour before kickoff at Willie Creeman.
yeah,
So, but other than that,
yeah.
Al,
Reach out.
Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
reach out, tell us if we suck, if we're good,
Yeah.
or if we're just mediocre. You know what? We'll take all three.
Yeah,
We'll take all
listen,
three.
mediocrity's the new, the new 7, I guess. So, I guess
And maybe, yeah,
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 we're
yeah,
trying to do the
yeah,
best. So,
yeah. I'll
anyhow,
take mediocrity.
yeah, I will too, man. Listen,
Yeah,
but other than that, I really appreciate it. Another kick butt episode we had. Love you, bro. Thank you so
yeah. I
much.
love you too, man. Stay safe.
All right, take care. Peace.
Peace.